right. Should be ready to Steno now. So today is the trans Lifeline Raid Train that I'm participating in. And for that, we're doing stenography for a couple hours. I'm just gonna be doing the 140 and 120 today. Should be fine. I don't see the stream streak having been sent twice. Maybe it's just on your end, but I only see it once. Oh, never mind. It actually did send twice. That's weird. It sent it twice at the same time. Hello, Ariana. So we're doing the 140 first, and then the 120. And then if I have time, I'll do part of the 160. Tangle Tamers.
Prescription lenses. Purchased legitimately. Beautiful apartments. Church representatives. Dehydration and exhaustion. Prevailing opinion. Uncounted thousands. Hand-lettered sign. Earthquake-ravaged region. Political assassination. Deafening tactics. Aircraft hijacker. Recovering drug addict. Contaminated soil. Supervising engineer. Carbohydrate content. Charters typically. Formerly headquartered. Commercial premises. Assistance accompanied. Robust appetites. Stopping occasionally. Turning point. Insipid incarnations. Refrigerated section. Impressive numbers. Virtually forever. Bureaucracy. Layered. Introductory offer. Uncomplicated decision. Manila envelopes. That's affirmative. Quietly admonished. Crinkled wrapping. Bursting parameters.
Envelopes is this, I think. Yes.
Right, now for some words from our...
Hello, both of you. Beats is awesome and PR edit.
List of 1,000 most frequently used words. Ready? Win. Woman. Terms. follows, march, conditions, teachers, answering,
Hello.
fact, important, effort, signed, couldn't, machine, plans, spent,
Knock, knock. Who's there?
required, nature, places, sleep, minutes, surprises, continue, past, planning, save, understanding, judgment, package, appear, kid, rain, files, filled, knowledge, place, education, baby, shipments, eyes, division, locate, funny, for, adjustment, increase.
Sorry if I don't immediately respond to anyone. I do have my mic volume up all the way, but I can still get drowned out by the speaker for this for these exercises. May you ask my gender? Agender. That's why I use they them pronouns. Lovely Loney, thank you for the likes. Fransic.
Lori, K, Peck, P-E-C-K.
We got 4 more minutes left in this exercise. This drill video. Cities and states.
Daphne, Alabama. Imperial Beach, California. St. Petersburg, Florida. New York.
I don't know how to write North Dakota. I keep forgetting that one. It doesn't come up a lot. Nord.
Amity, Pennsylvania. Butler, Pennsylvania. Easton, Pennsylvania.
I don't have one of those hobbyist keyboards. I have a full-on Steno machine. So it's connected to my computer the same way a keyboard would. It's bulky. And it weighs like a few pounds. It's also retro technology. So the keyboard is exactly the same as it's being represented by the layout display up above. So I have the top bar and I have all the keys. It's just that it's connected to a typewriter-like machine, a lever machine, instead of a regular keyboard with switches. Thanks for the question. Oh my god, why am I getting chocolate wrong? There, chocolate.
Year-old chimneys, violets and dandelions, wood burning, wooden fences bordered by colorful peonies, brown sugar or maple sugar.
Thank you, Patrick. It's actually not that complicated. So for example, for a word like dog, so you can see on the keyboard, it has the letters T, K, O, and G lit up. The TK on the left side of the keyboard is how you write the D sound. It's fairly arbitrary what keys represent different letters, except for like T and K separately. But put together, it is the D sound. And then you have the O vowel sound. And then you have the G at the end. So it's just D-O-G, dog. Or you can write it as T-K-A-U-G. The AU is also an ah sound. So it's not that complicated. And then for something like Pennsylvania, you don't have to write the entire word out. You have these things called briefs. So the brief for Pennsylvania for me is P asterisk PB, which is the N sound. There's also an E and an S. P asterisk EPBS. That would be Pennsylvania. That's also fairly arbitrary. You can assign the word of Pennsylvania to anything, as long as it doesn't conflict with something else in the dictionary. It's not that complicated. It just takes a lot of practice. A ton of practice. This is my 38th stream for stenography. And I'm still at 120, 100 words per minute. It takes a ton of practice. But otherwise, it's not that complicated, truly. Okay, I'm gonna do the jury charge in literary now. So jury charge is the judge's instructions to the jury. I have a bunch of notifications on my phone. Just there.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the issues in this case are issues of fraud and deceit. Fraudulent representation, or fraud as the term is used here, may be defined as false statements of material facts in a transaction made by one party to another.
You get it a little bit now? Thanks. You're welcome. The point of these streams is not just to keep me accountable, that I'm actually practicing at least once a week for a few hours, but to also show people what stenography looks like so they'll be less intimidated by it. The goal for a lot of people who do this sort of advocacy is just to show people what stenography looks like and convince people to try it out. Because you never know, maybe you'll really, really like it.
Made with knowledge of their falsity or made as positive statements of fact without reference to their truth or falsity, and made with the intent that the other party shall act thereon. When such other party believes such statements and relies thereon, and is induced thereby to enter into a contract or transaction, and the statements are false, and damage results to him, then such statements are fraud, which entitles the party injured to recover damages. Fraud is never presumed, and must always be proved, and the burden of proof rests upon the parties asserting the fraud, the defendants in this case, to prove by a fair preponderance of the evidence.
It sounds fun to learn. I recommend trying it out. The website for this is called opensteno.org. And you can download the software. It's completely free. All you would need is a keyboard that's capable of having multiple keys held down at the same time, so you can simulate a regular hobbyist keyboard. The hobbyist keyboards are about $100 each because they're customized. Thank you for reading Yeehaw and Autism Feature. Oh, and Clown Nose.
Patrick just redeemed
Thank you. Now I'm all dressed up for the rest of the stream.
That is the greater weight of the evidence that he was defrauded as claimed by him. If you find the evidence on this question evenly balanced, or that it preponderates in favor of the plaintiff, then you will find a verdict in plaintiff's favor. In order to recover on the ground of fraud or fraudulent representations, the party claiming to have been defrauded must have believed and relied upon the false statements made by the other party in the transaction, and if the party claiming fraud had knowledge of the real facts in connection with the transaction in question, and relying upon his own knowledge and information, and did not rely upon the statements made to him, then there is no fraud, because the party asserting the fraud is not innocent. In this case, there is no fraud insofar as the contents of the evidence because it is admitted by the plaintiff that John Henry read the agreement, Exhibit 4, and knew the contents thereof, and he was not deceived as to what Exhibit 4 contained. The only question of fraud in this case is whether the defendants agreed to execute a promissory note for $3,000 to the plaintiff and delivered Exhibit 4 purporting to be such note, and fraudulently stated to Henry that Exhibit 4 was a promissory note for $3,000 and was the note referred to in Exhibit 4, and whether pursuant thereto, Henry believed said instrument to be a promissory note for $3,000.
That's pretty long. Camping, alright.
One of my favorite trips was to Zion. Driving toward the park, I saw the Virgin River flowing clear and clean. That's where we'll go tubing tomorrow, I pointed out. That night, a downpour turned the channel into a chocolate-colored river. We almost canceled the tubing, but thankfully we didn't. When we crawled out of the water at the end of the stretch, mud plastered our hair and skin. It didn't matter. The kids had a blast, and more importantly, they learned that a little dirt never hurt anyone. As the kids grew older, they wanted to bunk with their friends instead of their parents. Our older son, Connor, moved out to the big boy tent by junior high, and I figured our younger son, Cooper, would also defect eventually. So around year 8, Clint and I downsized to a smaller tent in preparation of our next stage, empty tenters. Some traditions, however...
Yeah, it would be fun to flex in front of your friends once you learn it. If you get really fast, it's really fun trying to get faster and faster. It just takes a lot of practice. But once you get really fast, it's like you get to brag. You get to brag about it if you really want to. You could just be like, oh yeah, I can type on the keyboard at 120 words per minute now. Fun.
Never changed. At the end of each trip, we held a ritual called thorns and roses. Each camper, from youngest to oldest, would identify something that was a thorn on the trip and something that was a rose. Looking back over the camping years, my thorn is that the trips were never long enough. We had to return to civilization all too soon. My rose is that my kids learned the value of community, of working together and helping one another. They also developed an appreciation for the outdoors and even seemed to have caught camping bug themselves.
Oh yeah, it is a raid train. I'm gonna get rated in a few. Tomorrow is also a raid. It's rain trains. Today, tomorrow. Have it on my calendar. Okay, raid trains today, tomorrow, then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This one is for Trans Lifeline, which I think I forgot to. There's also a oh, I always have this one open. Lifeline. This is what Trans Lifeline is. Trans Lifeline is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to crisis relief and community building efforts for and by the trans community. Trans Lifeline primarily operates a peer support and crisis hotline for the trans community. You will have full anonymity and confidentiality and will always reach a trans/non-binary peer operator. Unlike most crisis hotlines, Trans Lifeline will never non-consensually contact emergency responders. Find out more at translifeline.org. Let me add that to the title real quick before I get rated. My hands are kind of shaking. It's making me misstroke. I'm at 928 followers on TikTok now.
When Connor graduated from high school, he planned a camping trip to Big Bear with 4 friends. On the drive up the mountain, the van's transmission began to slip, so it was slow going. They had to push the van the last leg, and dusk had settled. By the time they arrived at the campground,
Thank you.
exhausted, the boys set up their tents in the dark and ate instant ramen for dinner. It was a thorny start to a camping trip, but no doubt the story they'll retell in years to come, maybe even one day around a campfire with their own families. If, under the rules given you, you find and believe from the evidence that the defendant Norris, representing the defendants at the time of making the agreement of settlement, represented and stated to Henry, acting for the plaintiff in this case, that the defendants would execute to the plaintiffs a promissory note for $3,000 and that later Morris delivered Exhibit 4 to the said Henry and then stated to him that said Exhibit 4 was a promissory note for $3,000 and was the note referred to in Exhibit 1, and you find that the statements and the making of Exhibit 4 were done for the purpose of cheating and defrauding the plaintiff as claimed, and you further find that Henry believed said representations and believed that said Exhibit 4 was a promissory note on which the defendants were personally liable and was the note referred to in Exhibit 4 and relied and acted thereon, then you will find a verdict in plaintiff's favor for $3,000 with interest added as provided for in said Exhibit 4. On the other hand, if you fail to so find from the comments of the evidence, or you find the evidence missing on either of these issues, or if you find that Morris did not make any budget of the conclusions as claimed by the plaintiff, or you find that said Exhibit 4 was in accordance with the agreement of the parties, or that the said Henry at the time of receiving said Exhibit 4 knew the contents and terms thereof, then in either such case you will find a verdict in the defendant's favor of no cause of action. If you find a verdict in plaintiff's favor in this case, it will be for the full amount of $3,000.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the raid, Kai Mycelium. How is everyone doing today? I hope you're doing well. We are here. We are queer. Yes. Hello, Aquapunk. Hello, everybody. I'm Melody Wisp. I'm an accessibility provider, voice actor, and variety VTuber. I mostly play visual novels and RPGs most days, 6 days a week. And on Thursdays, or during special events like this, I like to do stenography practice. How are y'all doing today? I hope you're doing well. So right now, I'm in the middle of the 140 words per minute practice. We're doing the jury charge and literary. Jury charge is judge's instructions to the jury, and literary is basically anything like articles and stuff. I hope y'all are doing fine today. I'm having fun. I'm about 30 minutes into the stream already.
Event 02 just redeemed Hydrate.
Thank you for redeeming Hydrate. Does anybody here know anything about stenography? I would love to know. I have a bunch of plugins on the screen. There is the video on YouTube, of course. And then there is a suggestions plugin to the left. Then there is a lookup for looking up words in the dictionary. There is a layout display showing each of the keys that I hit on the keyboard. And then there is a fun little words per minute stroke meter showing by syllables how fast I'm going. So stenography is when you use a form of shorthand to take down dictation. There are 3 different types of shorthand methods. There is pen, which is just regular pen and paper. There's machine, which is using either a keyboard or a stenography machine to take down the dictation. And then there is voice, which is when you use a a microphone and a special form of stenography using your voice to take down the dictation. What's the difference between closed and open captions? Closed captions are on a different track, and you can, and they are customizable by the viewer. They can close them and open them. That's why they're called closed captions. And then open captions are captions that are actually, that are burned into the video itself. So it'll be on the video and the viewer won't be able to interact with them at all. Which can be good or bad. Mostly bad though, because then it's dependent on the person's internet connection. So when the video changes quality, it can make the open captions blurry. Keep trying to convince my streamer friends to add closed captions to their stream. That is a really good thing to do. You don't see them? Oh, it says not streaming. My captions are enabled. I don't know why it's not. I don't know why the captions aren't working. That's weird. I'm trying to enable the captions, but they're not working. That's weird. I'm changing the caption source and it's not working. Okay, let me try stream audio track 1. No. My captions aren't working today. I'll need to figure this out. Maybe turn off, maybe uninstall them and then install them again. Because it's not working. Thank you for the like on the live, Gabe. Thank you for pointing out that my captions aren't on. That's very strange. In the meantime, I am working on the 140 words per minute class. Yeah, it's a shame. I'll probably have to remove the plugin and then reinstall it later. I do it now, but I'm pretty sure that would just make OBS crash.
With interest added, as provided for in Exhibit 4. If you find a verdict in defendant's favor, it will be the usual verdict of no cause of action.
They did break. It says on my, it says on OBS that it's not streaming, closed captioning off. And when I hit the settings and I go to caption source, it's set on the mic. But if I were to take off the mic onto something else and exit, it'll show that it's on mic again when I open it back up. And if I disable the captions and open it up again, it says captioning enabled, so it's just broken. Yeah, it's just completely off. I don't know why. I might have to if the plugin doesn't work anymore, then I'll have to find something else to use. I maybe pin that. Yeah. Hold up. The captions are for other people, PR. I know they're trying to roll their own version, so it might be something with that. It could be. I know that Twitch has already implemented captions on clips. But yesterday, I was in someone else's stream, and I did see that they had the captions enabled. I even turned them on, and they were on, so it's probably just a me problem. He is that one? Okay. I use the Google closed captions.
This is called Adventures with Ben Harold.
Ben Harold?
Ready?
Can I write Harold? Whoops.
In 1961, right after college graduation, I had gotten married and moved my bride to Houston, Texas, where I took a job with the Harris County District Clerk's Office and where I became acquainted with the field of court reporting. At that time, there were no schools in Houston that taught court reporting, but there was an official court reporter, Harold, a merit runner who liked to teach and consented to add me to his next class. Ben was a World War II Navy veteran who had come to Houston after the war and founded a freelance court reporting agency. When he discovered I was studying to become a reporter, he offered to give me all of his scrap stenotype paper so I could tape it together and use it rather than buy a new pad. It saved me some money over the years and a half I studied, and I have always appreciated that encouragement and gesture. Ben was a nice guy and was typical of that generation in that he was a serious man, not one to suffer fools before fools. That is just what he said, which again, typical of that man, was not much. He had to really listen and draw conclusions. Ben was originally trained as a court reporter.
Okay. I'll put the volume up for the video. 1.
In the Pittman theory of writing, and later taught himself the stenotype machine, combining Pittman and stenotype theory into what he called the Harold theory. A few years later, I became certified and began reporting. Ben sold his freelance agency and came over to the courthouse and took over one of the district courts as the official court reporter. At that time, all of the officials had been trying to get a raise for years, but had been unsuccessful. When Ben came over, he told all of them if they would each give him $500, he would get them a raise. 100% of the officials gave Ben the money he asked for, and sure enough, he not only got them a raise, he got their pay tied directly to the district judge's pay, and every time the district judges got a raise, the court reporters did too. All it took was hiring the right lobbyist, and Ben knew the right lobbyist. After I had been reporting for several years, I became interested in passing the Certificate of Proficiency and Merit examinations and began studying for the next test.
It's interesting from these articles from the NCRA, which is the National Court Reporters Association magazine. Sometimes you learn you're typing words using shortcuts. So I'm using shorthand. In my case, I'm using something called Phoenix theory. Theories are just just rules for how to write. So Phoenix theory is mostly phonetics based with some orthography. So basing it on the way words are also spelled. So if I were to type out dog, there's two ways I can write it out. TKOG and TKAUG. What's the time right now where I live? It is 2:21 p.m. So TK is the D sound. O or AU or the A sound. And then there's the G at the end. So dog. And then for other words, like you might want to write like a Pennsylvania, for example. You might want to write it faster. So you would use what is called a brief, which is a shortcut. Thank you, Patrick. So Pennsylvania is for me P asterisk EPBS. PB is the N sound. N. So pence. So you can either write them phonetically or use shortcuts, which are called briefs. It just takes a lot of practice. But once you get something down, and you've practiced it enough, it becomes automatic for you. And that is stenography.
The subject of this jury charge is an accident. Ladies and gentlemen, if, on the other hand, you believe that it was an independent person, a person who was not under the control of the defendant corporation, not an agent, servant, or employee, then it would be your duty to find that the defendant was not liable, because the defendant corporation has the right to assume that a stranger going down into the cellar to open the doors would act with due regard to the rights of third persons and would not open a door negligently from the inside, but would merely loosen the bolts and then come through the store out onto the pavement. So the issue for you to determine is, do you believe that it was an agent, servant, or employee of the defendant corporation who opened that door, or do you believe that it was an independent contractor, a stranger, as Mr. Bradford intimated that he believed it was.
I don't remember how to write independent. Come up a few times. PPHP. Independent.
You should also consider whether the plaintiff herself acted as a reasonably careful person would act under the circumstances. She had a perfect right to walk on any part of that pavement.
Okay, I put the music volume down lower. Is this okay now?
The iron doors were flush with the pavement when they were closed, and she had a perfect right to walk across those iron doors when they were level with the pavement, as she had the right to assume that nobody would suddenly and without warning open any part of that door to create an obstruction immediately in her path. If you are satisfied that the plaintiffs have established their case by a fair preponderance of the evidence and have met the burden of proof, which is upon them, that an agent, servant, or employee of the defendant corporation opened that door negligently, and if you feel that the plaintiff herself did not contribute by her own negligence to cause the accident, it would be your duty to find a verdict for the plaintiff against the defendant corporation. If, on the other hand, you believe that it was not an agent, servant, or employee of the defendant corporation that caused the accident, that some third person over whom the defendant corporation had no control or no right to control caused the accident, then your verdict should be for the defendant corporation. If you find for the plaintiff, you should consider the measure of damages. Use your common sense and sound judgment.
For me, I have a stenography machine plugged into my computer. It's retro technology, so it's pretty old, but it still works just as it works just as any other keyboard would work. The key layout is simulated on the layout display above the Notepad. You have the number line at the very top, which is just one long key. And then you have the S key, which is two keys, technically, but it's just one put together. And then the rest of them are as seen as well. The stenography machines cost thousands of dollars. I got mine for $500, which is a steal, because this is a professional machine. There are student machines, which have less memory, but I don't really need the memory for my stenography machine. I just need it to be plugged into my computer. The software that I use, Plover, is free and open source. But professional software is also in the thousands of dollars. You have to pay like $3,000 to $5,000 for a license for a few years. I use Plover, but if I were to be a professional working in the field, I would probably have to use the professional software. But my machine is very sturdy, it's bulky, and it feels like a typewriter. So what is this used for? Court reporting, which is when you take down dictation from legal proceedings, and captioning. So you would use stenography for carts or computer-aided translation, captioning, and live captioning. So you would see this used for like individuals during school or something, or conferences, and then for the entire room for like important events like the news, or maybe like an award show. They use captioning for that too.
Let's get back to some literary material. Back to our adventures with Ben Harold. Ready?
Ben Harold.
At that time, there were about 5 merit reporters in Houston, and I wanted to be number 6. So I dove into practicing. To make a long story short, I passed the merit and became the 7th, not the 6th, merit writer in Houston, Texas. On the Monday following my test, I was receiving a lot of congratulations from other reporters, and during the lunch hour, I was visiting with another reporter named John Leddens in his office, when Ben walked in and congratulated me. We began talking about the test. John Leddens was a merit writer also, and during our visit, he casually asked Ben why he had never taken the test. Ben just kind of shrugged and said he could pass the test anytime he wanted. He just never took the time to do so. Well, this comment was like throwing down a challenge to John. John couldn't let that remark go, and so challenged Ben to write an old merit test he had lying around the office. John was another one of the reporters in Houston who gave of his time to help other reporters upgrade their reporting efficiencies, and frequently dictated the test for NSRA, the predecessor association to NCRA.
Efficiency.
And for now, that will conclude our literary and jury charge practice.
All right, we're moving on to the Q&A. Q&A is testimony. So for professional stenography, if you want to get certified, which is necessary for a few states, you would sign up for the NCRA's certification test. I believe the first one, I forget what the first one's called. I always forget. NCRA. The first one is called Registered Skill Reporter. And you have to pass 3 5-minute skills tests. The first skills test is literary at 160 words per minute. The second one is jury charge at 180 words per minute. And testimony/Q&A is at 200 words per minute. After dictation, you'll have 75 minutes to transcribe your notes and submit your final transcript. You must have 95% accuracy on each leg to pass. You do not have to pass all the components of the certification at one time. Do you want to get certified too, or do you do this all for fun, or is it related to your accessibility work? I'm trying to become a live captioner, which takes a lot of practice. So I would take the, there is a certification for captioning. Certified Real-Time Captioner. It is a 5-minute literary test at 180 words per minute. And then there is a written knowledge test, which is 50 multiple choice questions. The accuracy required for the test is 96%, and you don't edit your transcript afterwards. You just upload it immediately after you're done. And it is related to my accessibility work, since it is captioning. Streaming it is just for fun, though. And also to show people what it looks like, so they'll feel less intimidated by it. And feel like they're able to try it out themselves.
Welcome to Q&A practice. Let's get started with the defense attorney. Ready? Now, you met Mr. Lee down on a beach, you said, in Florida. I met him in Florida. You met him on a beach. Isn't that correct? That's correct. Do you know what time of the...
I currently actually do captioning. So that's my accessibility work. It's captioning, and I also proofread transcripts. I haven't gotten any work in a while, but when I did, it was mostly Congress. 180 words per minute is a lot. I think most office jobs only want like 50 or so. Yeah, it's for the captioning and stuff, you have to be able to keep up with what people are saying when they're talking. So it's actually just a minimum of 180 words per minute. Truly, you want to be able to write even higher than that, because people vary. Some people talk really slow, like I sometimes talk pretty slow, and other people talk really fast. So you want to be able to keep up even if the person is talking really fast. So while 180 is the certification speed, you truly want to be at like the person behind Plover. She writes at 260 words per minute, and she is a live captioner. So she captions for conferences, and for individuals during school. She's actually pretty awesome. I think captioners in general are pretty awesome, but she's especially pretty awesome.
The day it was, I believe it would have been between 1 and 3 in the afternoon. It was between 1 and 3 when you first encountered Mr. Lee in that area.
Yeah. Plus, you know, this is all very fun too. I recommend that everyone try it out at least once, just to see if they like it. Because you might like it, and it might become like your new hyperfixation. Captions are pretty awesome. I always appreciate those as an ADHD person. I'm also ADHD. And I also always appreciate captions as well. Because I work in the profession, I'm also very aware of how bad captions look, so I'm always like shaking my fist at like Netflix or Amazon when they have really bad captions. There's one show in particular on Amazon that's trilingual, but the captioning is really bad. It's like they summarize all the sentences, instead of writing each one out. I think captioning has gone pretty downhill in the past few years on official streaming platforms, which is unfortunate because there are flesh and blood human beings who rely on them. They have no choice but to rely on them. Okay, ad break starts in 30 seconds.
And you said that the two of you went for a swim. That's correct. Was he out in the pool area when you came? No.
Probably because they make AI do it. Yeah, they're probably just loosely editing the AI generated captions. Though I know that there are still captioning companies out there that will take on work from Netflix and stuff. Netflix has a very clear guidance on captioning, but one of the things is that they allow people to just summarize captions instead of writing it word for word verbatim. Okay, ad break ends in 3 minutes. On Crunchyroll in German or something, they left the chat GPT prompted. Yeah, they did. Crunchyroll has been outsourcing their subtitles to AI a lot. I remember reading a really thorough blog post about it from someone involved in translating and subtitling. It's unfortunate. I just got a call from Nigeria. It literally said Nigeria on the caller ID. It's so strange. Nigeria? I don't know anyone in Nigeria. It'd be pretty nice to meet someone from Nigeria, though. Yeah, I don't know anyone from Nigeria. It'd be pretty cool, though. Yeah, it probably was a scam call. They probably just screwed up on their end. Instead of making it look like it was from my state. Yeah, I don't know why, I guess it's just because, I don't know. I wonder why Nigeria in particular. Ad break ends in 40 seconds, and then I can continue the Q&A practice. If you just read my transcripts currently and try to make sense of it, you wouldn't be able to. It's pretty bad right now. 12-year-old me once got an email from a Nigerian prince and genuinely conversed with them for a while. Wow. Too bad they weren't a real Nigerian prince. You once got a scam text? Scam text? I get scam texts sometimes too. Some of them are just like, it's just starting with just like hello or hi, and then they try and reel you in after that. Accidental scam baiting, wasted their time with long emails, and was like, well, unfortunately, I am 12 and have no money.
So we met on the beach and walked to the pool area. How far was the beach away from the pool area? Oh, about 50 yards. So it was right in the immediate area? Yes. Then you said you had a cocktail and took a swim. No, as I recall, we both had soft drinks, and then you took a swim? Yes. And did he take a swim too? Yes, I believe he did. And then you left, and he left, is that right? That's correct. Where did you go? Back to my hotel room. And how far was your hotel room from this pool area? The pool was in the patio complex of the hotel. My room was on an upper floor. Now, Mr. Morrow testified that you met two people at that hotel pool. What would you say about that? I would say that Mr. Morrow's recollection was incorrect. I only met John Lee. Where was Mr. Rodriguez during this time? I can't state with any certainty where Mr. Rodriguez was. Now, it was your understanding when you made your last call to Mr. Rodriguez that Mr. Rodriguez would deliver the narcotic. Isn't that true? Yes.
I added Rodriguez. Oh, thank you. I added Rodriguez to my dictionary, so I'm able to write it now. Before I couldn't. You've been enjoying watching scam baiting videos lately? Oh, what sort? What happened in the latest one you watched?
For some voice practice.
We're doing 4 voice?
And we will start with ready?
I'm not ready.
Alright, so, and at that point, did you yourself notice whether Ron was in the room? He eventually came into the bar. Okay, and when he arrived at the bar, what did Cindy say or do at that point to you? She told me that Ron was there. Okay, did she make any contact with Ron? Yes, she did. And what did you see in that regard? I saw Ron walk up and stand at the fixed bar. Cindy walked over and had a conversation with him. Okay, and how long did that conversation last? Approximately less than 1 minute. Alright, and then when finished, where did she go? That is, Cindy. Cindy walked back over to where I was seated and asked for a $20 bill. Alright, and what did you do? I handed it to her. And then did she take it from you? Yes, she did. Where did she go? She walked back over to Ron at the fixed bar. Alright, and so how far away are they from you? Approximately 10 feet. And so what do you see in terms of what Cindy and Ron do? I was somewhat shielded on this visit by Cindy. Her body was in between myself and Ron, so I just noticed that they had a conversation. Okay, then after that finished, what happened? Cindy came back over to me and handed me...
Basically, they built a portal to scam the scammers into wasting their time through verification, then pretended to be a senile customer service lady on call with them, who was extremely unhelpful and frustrating, and was now hearing/listening to anything you said. Almost makes you feel bad for poor crypto scammer McCrisp. Yeah. That sounds sounds like a very entertaining video. For sure.
A small plastic Ziploc bag with a white substance inside, consistent with the ones you had obtained in the past? Yes. Did you see... You said that Cindy took your $20 over to Ron. Did you see her give it to Ron? I saw the hand she was holding it in come up, but I couldn't actually see him take possession of it. Alright, then after Cindy returned back to your location, gave you the substance in the baggie, what did you do with it? Put it in my pocket. Keep it, retain it? Yes. And submit it to the lab for analysis? Yes. After Cindy gave you that item, did she resume her bartending duties? Yes. All right. And did you receive results back from the lab? Let's say onto the baggie reflecting 0.29 grams of cocaine? Yes. And the 0.29? Yes, 0.29. And as to the 1/2 tablet that she gave you on this night, just identified as the substance known as hydrocodone. Codone, yeah, HYDROCODONE. Is that right? Yes. All right, and moving on to your last visit with which I understand. I'm sorry, did we have a stipulation on that? Oh, sorry, Mr. West. Yes. All right. So basically just for the 0.29 grams of cocaine, and the half pill was identified as hydrocodone. Yeah, it was something like that. CODONE, you said? Yes, thank you. And then on to this last visit, which I understand occurred on or about August 14th of 2005. Do you recall that? Yes. You again returned in an undercover capacity? Yes. I'm sorry, we're talking about August 14th? Yes. Okay. Otherwise, yeah, counts 25-26, again with your partner, Mr. Scott. Is that right? Yes. This is Ms. Is Cindy there this time also? Yes. Did you order your drinks from her on this occasion, the last visit? Yes. Beer of some type? Yes. And after she served you the beers, did you have some further interaction or contact with Cindy? Yes, I did. How did that commence? Cindy walked out back for a cigarette. I joined her and, thanked her for what she had gotten me the last time, and we just had a casual conversation. Other than that contact you had with her outside on a smoking break, did you make some other observations regarding Cindy's conduct in the premises? Yes. How did that commence? We talked back inside the bar. She once again went into the women's restroom and asked me to join her. Okay, so similar to the first time she had asked you to join her in the ladies' room? Yes. And did you on this occasion go ahead and join her? Yes. And after you arrived, did you make it inside the ladies' room? Yes. Once inside, what's your initial observation? She pulled out some type of case from her purse and removed a small plastic bag containing a white substance. What did she do with that substance? She put it on a ledge in the restroom. And did she discuss it with you at all? Yes. What did she say? She asked me if I wanted to join her in doing the proposed cocaine, and I told her no. Okay, and then, so once you told her no, what did she do? Sarah, Ms. Reed, Cindy. She asked me for a dollar bill. I gave her one. She rolled it up and then sniffed the white substance. So similar to the first occasion you discussed with us? Yes. And then once she did that, where did you go next? Back to the fixed bar. I'm sorry. She asked you for the dollar bill and you said that she rolled it up and then she snorted powder? Yes. Okay. Was Ron there that night? Yes. And did you have some more direct contact with him? Yes. What did you do in that regard? I informed him that I was looking for an 8-ball of cocaine, which is just a larger amount. He told me it would be $120 and that he'd have to call Juan and have it delivered to the bar.
Wow, that was 10 minutes. 10 minutes straight of just one transcript.
This is a 140 Q&A practice test. Plaintiff Attorney Mr. Morris, capital M-O-R-R-I-S. Defense Attorney Ms. M.S. period West.
Lokno just traded with 11 viewers.
Hello! Thank you for the raid. I really appreciate it. I hope your stream went well. Hello, everybody. My name is Melody Wisp. I'm an accessibility provider, voice actor, and variety streamer. I mostly stream video games, but on Thursdays and special events like this, which is a Raid Train for Trans Lifeline, I like to do stenography practice. So that's currently what I'm doing right now. I'm doing stenography practice. I'm currently doing the 140 words per minute class, number 27. How's everyone doing? Hello, Lochno. Did you rate especially for Trans Lifeline? If so, thank you very much. Doing good? Awesome. If anyone has any questions about stenography, feel free to ask. I also have incentives for donating. You're part of the Raid Train earlier this weekend? Awesome. So my incentives are for $10, $20, $30, $40, $50. And they're all Steno related. In case anyone wants to ask me to steno a complex word or send me a video that they want me to practice to, or a little a steno gif that I can create for you. But other than that, we're doing the 140 words per minute practice. I'm almost done with 140. I'm on the test now, the practice test, and then I'll be moving on to 120. Going descending from 140 to 120. My words per minute, my speed is currently 100/120. I'm like right in the middle.
Capital W-E-S-T. And we'll start with the defense attorney. Ready? What city is DirecTV out of? Or what's the business address? I was working for Garden Grove. No, Diversified. What city was it in? I'm not sure, but it was a city near Barstow. And who was your supervisor? I was, well, honestly, I don't remember the name. And what were your duties as an installer? To install the antenna and to run the cable and install the equipment. Did you ever have any injuries while working for DirecTV? No. Have you ever filed a workers' compensation claim against any of these previous employers? No. Did you have any other places of employment during that 3-year gap from 2005 to 2008 other than DirecTV? No. So what did you do then for between 2005 and 2006 and 2007, 2008? Did you work? Without a job. You were unemployed? Yes. Were you collecting any benefits while you were unemployed? I have never collected unemployment benefits. Never. Did you have any hospitalizations or were you sick between 2005 and 2008 when you were unemployed? No. Did you have any injuries Physical injuries, whether they were work-related or not, work-related between 2005 and 2006? No. After your employment ended with Mr. Sanchez, have you had any injuries to your right knee? Lately, because of the cold weather, it hurts. Do you attribute that to the weather, or do you attribute that to the job? I did not understand. You said that your knee is hurting. Your right knee is hurting lately because of the weather. Can you explain? Honestly, when it gets cold, I feel a little pain, that's all. And you're working right now at Harry's restaurant. Are you still having pain in your right knee? Just a little bit. Yes, a little. Just a little. Has that pain gotten worse? Is it the same? Less? Objection. Wait, I'm speaking. What time frame are you referring to? When he's working at this restaurant during that time, if it has gotten worse? As he's working at his current employment. So you're saying because of the work that it's worse? Let me ask counselor again. With your current employment right now at Harry's restaurant, do you feel that the pain in your right knee is getting worse, or is it the same? Objection. It's vague and ambiguous as to with the current employment. I don't know what it means. Are you referring to causation because of the work he's doing, or during the time frame that he's working there? Counsel, let's go off. I don't know how anybody can answer it without knowing. Causation is something for the medical legal to determine. We're not here to. You're asking him anyway. I'm asking him for a medical opinion. So are you saying that during the time he worked at this restaurant, whether his knee pain got worse? That's what my question was, very on the record, I believe. Can you go back and ask my question, Madam Court Reporter? I'm sorry. With the current employment, it's not the same. It's just when it gets cold, that's when it bothers me the most. It's like the ligaments when I walk, my knee feels like this. Do you have auto insurance? No. Do you currently own a vehicle? No. Do you drive? Not now. When did you stop driving? 2010. Why? Because I had a ticket for a red light and my license was suspended. Have you ever been in any automobile accidents either before or after the workers' compensation injury we are discussing here today? Yes. When? 2003. What happened? I was arrested under the influence of alcohol. Were you arrested for a DUI? Is this correct? Yes. Where did the auto accident occur? What was the city or county? Beaumont. Is there a police report of that accident? Yes. Were you injured in that accident? No. Were there any other people involved in the accident? No. Did you hit another car? Yes. And who was the driver of that other car? If I remember, it was a lady. Was she injured? Yes, a little. How did the cars collide? What happened? At the entrance of the driveway to a Vaughn's, we both hit each other. Did you hit? So from the front, you guys hit each other? Yes. Were you at a stop, or was she? No, there was no stop. I was coming from the street and I didn't see her and I hit her. Was there a settlement in that car accident? Yes, of course. What was the amount of the settlement? A settlement of money? No. Did you have insurance at the time of that accident? In 2003? Yes. Who was your auto insurance carrier? If I can recall, it was State Farm Insurance. And were you arrested immediately after the accident?
I didn't do very good on that. But it is what it is. We're moving on. Okay, let me change this to 28 and bookmark it. Okay, now we're doing the 120. I'm starting with the drill.
Welcome to drill practice. Let's start out with a little number drill. And these are names and addresses. Names of restaurants and their address and phone number. Ready? Go. Andrea. 22701 Pelican Hill Road, Newport Coast, California, 949-467-6800. Babette's, 7962 East Coast Highway, Newport Coast, California, 949-715-9915. The Beachcomber, 15 Crystal Cove, Newport Coast, California, 949-376-6900. Bluefin, 7952 East Pacific Coast Highway, Newport Coast, California, 949-715-7373. Maestro's Ocean Club, 8112 East Coast Highway, Newport Coast, California, 949-376-6990.
Okay. Thank you for the lurk, Patrick.
Stop there and try this next drill. And I will use some words, a few words, and then the words in sentences. And these are words that you may read or you may not read. Of course, if you don't read them, you'll just write them out. Ready? Here we go. Figure, balance, dozen, invoice, manufacture, follow. All right, now we'll try these words in some sentences.
Manufacturer. I always forget that one. Okay, I got it now.
He figured the taxes all wrong. What does your company manufacture? Did you figure the amount that is owed? We did not figure that the balance on the invoice would be that high. The sash doors were not manufactured here. They were in the manufacturing business. Only a dozen people showed. Have you checked all your figures? Did you follow the orders? I cannot get a balance. He is having trouble balancing the ledger. She figures we will give in. The singer has a huge following. Where were those things manufactured? Where are the new invoices? We did not figure the cost of that. Why did you buy a dozen? It is cheaper by the dozen. Where did you put the invoices? They are manufacturing a new die. They said it was not manufactured here. It did not work as he figured it would. I have told her dozens of times. The company manufactures cutting tools. I ran out of invoices. We watched the balancing act in amazement. You need to follow up on that invoice. Figuring that invoice will take all day. Try following the rules. They were invoiced for a dozen. I'll read that one more time. They were invoiced for a dozen.
We got 3 minutes left in this drill.
Next, let's practice some medical prefixes and suffixes. So I will read the prefix and spell it, and then give you the meaning. Ready? Here we go. Plast. Plast. Surgical repair. Cerebr. Cerebr. Brain. Path. Path. Disease. Ectomy. Surgical removal. Ectomy. Enter. Enter. Intestines.
Is that it? was pretty short.
Right, we will stop there with the medical terminology, and now let's try some things to be happy about. Ready? Museum lectures. A set of hats for a child. Slow cooked oatmeal. A sunken garden. Absence making the heart grow fonder. Baskets of eggs. Cast iron floor registers.
No, that's it. It sounded like she was gonna go for longer. How do I write museum again? I always forget how to write museum. Okay, that's museum. Okay, we're moving on to the jury charge and literary.
Welcome to literary and jury charge practice. Let's start out with some literary, and this is called a slippery subject. Oil change intervals ain't what they used to be. Ready? Here we go. Should I change my car's oil every 3,000 miles as my dad taught me? It prevents engine damage and it can't do any harm, right? Sorry to disappoint you. Unnecessary oil changes can harm both the environment and your pocketbook. Dear old dad was right a quarter century ago, but not today. Now, California's Department of Resources, Recycling and Recovery, CalRecycle, is actively engaged in persuading residents that motor oil doesn't have to be changed every 3,000 miles. The department's website lists all sorts of noxious things in used motor oil. Sure, a reputable auto shop will follow the law by properly disposing of used motor oil, ideally by sending it to be recycled. But guess where a lot of old motor oil ends up? In groundwater and surface water. Old motor oil represents 40% of oil pollution in the nation's harbors and waterways, and a gallon of the stuff can foul 1 million gallons of drinking water. So the less often oil is changed, the smaller the chance it might inadvertently spill onto the ground or end up running down a storm drain. If being green doesn't cause you to reconsider Dad's precept, the idea of wasting green might. Too frequent oil changes won't damage your engine, but they won't do it any good either, says Steve Mazer, manager of the Auto Club's Automotive Research Center. Today, automakers typically recommend change intervals of between 5,000 and 10,000 miles, if they recommend set intervals at all. Depending on how many quarts your engine holds and the type of oil it requires, you're tossing away $25 to $100 for the oil, filters, and disposal fees every time you order an unnecessary oil change. So why are 3,000-mile oil change intervals no longer the best practice? In a nutshell, because of improvements to car engines and motor oil. Alright, and we'll finish that one up later. For now, let's try some jury charge practice. Ready? Here we go. Fifth, the Defendants Act took place on or about November 22, 2012 in Morrison County. If you find that each of these elements has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, the defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree. If you find that any element has not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, the defendant is not guilty of murder in the first degree. The statutes of Minnesota provide that whoever, with intent to cause the death of the person, but without premeditation, causes the death of a human being is guilty of murder in the second degree. The elements of murder in the second degree are, first, the death of Nicholas Brady must be proven. Second, the defendant caused the death of Nicholas Brady. Third, the defendant acted with the intent to kill Nicholas Brady. To find the defendant had an intent to kill, you must find that the defendant acted with the purpose of causing death or believed that the act would have that result. Intent, being a process of the mind, is not always susceptible to proof by direct evidence, but may be inferred from all the circumstances surrounding the event. It is not necessary that the defendant's act be premeditated. Fourth, the defendant's act took place on or about November 22, 2012 in Morrison County. If you find that each of these elements has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, the defendant is guilty of murder in the second degree. If you find that any element has not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, the defendant is not guilty of murder in the second degree. The statutes of Minnesota provide that whoever, with intent to cause the death of the person, but without premeditation, causes the death of a human being, is guilty of murder in the second degree. The elements of murder in the second degree are, first, the death of Hale Kiffer must be proven. Second, the defendant caused the death of Hale Kiffer. Third, the defendant acted with the intent to kill Hale Kiffer. To find the defendant had an intent to kill, you must find that the defendant acted with the purpose of causing death or believed that the act would have that result. Intent, being a process of the mind, is not always susceptible to proof by direct evidence, but may be inferred from all the circumstances surrounding the event. It is not necessary that the defendant's act be premeditated. Fourth, the defendant's act took place on or about November 22, 2012 in Morrison County. If you find that each of these elements has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, the defendant is guilty of murder in the second degree. If you find that any element has not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, the defendant is not guilty of murder in the second degree. Literary about a slippery subject. Changing your oil.
Riveting.
Ready? Here we go. Oil is essential because it lubricates an engine's moving parts, reducing friction between, say, the pistons and cylinders as they move against each other. Trouble is, the oil degrades over time. Byproducts of the combustion process, moisture and unburned fuel, dirty it. Heat causes some of it to evaporate, leaving it thicker. Fast-moving engine parts whip it into foam. Yucky sludge forms in cooler parts of the engine. The oil filter removes some contaminants until it becomes overwhelmed, and motor oil makers add various potions to inhibit such things as foam and sludge, but the additives dissipate over time. Thankfully, motor oil makers continue to get better at their craft. Even compared with 5 years ago, engine oils are now more thermally stable and less volatile, primarily because of the wider use of synthetic and semi-synthetic base stocks, says Doug Hakala, an ExxonMobil passenger vehicle lubricant specialist. On the automaker's side, Dad's simple carburetor has been replaced by sophisticated computer-controlled fuel injection that's nearly eliminated fuel dilution. That's but one example of engineering advances that have enhanced motor oil life, says Mercedes-Benz spokeswoman Deirdre Wiley. Others include low friction coatings inside the engine and better management of oil pressures and oil cooling. What's more, oil life monitors in many newer cars have rendered set oil change intervals nearly irrelevant. They tell you when you're due for a change based on your driving history, factoring in such things as engine speeds, temperatures, and overall mileage. Under favorable conditions, a car might travel up to 16,000 miles before a monitor indicates that an oil change is needed. The bottom line, heed your car's oil change monitor, if it has one. Otherwise, crack open the good book, the owner's manual, and follow it, unless your car is very old. It will recommend change intervals far longer than your dad's 3,000-mile limit. I have to say, I can't get the 3,000 miles out of my head. That is what I learned too. All right. some jury charge practice. Ready? Here we go. No crime is committed when a person takes the life of another person, even intentionally, if the defendant's action was taken in resisting or preventing an offense the defendant reasonably believe exposed the defendant to death or great bodily harm. In order for a killing to be justified for this reason, 3 conditions must be met. First, the killing must have been done in the belief that it was necessary to avert death or great bodily harm. Second, the judgment of the defendant as to the gravity of the peril to which he was exposed must have been reasonable under the circumstances. Third, the defendant's election to defend must have been such as a reasonable person would have made in light of the danger perceived. All 3 conditions must be met. The defendant has no duty to retreat from his dwelling. The state has the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant did not act in self-defense. No crime is committed when a person takes the life of another person, even intentionally, if the defendant's action was taken in preventing the commission of a felony in the defendant's place of abode. In order for a killing to be justified for this reason, 3 conditions must be met. First, the defendant's action was done to prevent the commission of a felony in the dwelling. In this case, the parties stipulate that Nicholas Brady and Hale Kipper were committing or intending to commit felony burglary in the defendant's dwelling. Second, the defendant's judgment as to the gravity of the situation was reasonable under the circumstances. Third, the defendant's election to defend his dwelling was such as a reasonable person would have made in light of the danger perceived. All 3 conditions must be met. The defendant has no duty to retreat. The state has the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant did not act in defense of dwelling. A verdict form indicating the charges has been prepared for your use in this trial. The verdict form is complete in itself. There is nothing for you to add or subtract. When you have reached your verdict, have the verdict form signed and dated by your foreperson. Your verdict must be unanimous. I would like to go over the verdict form with you at this time. If, in considering a charge against the defendant, you find that the state has sustained its burden of proving the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, you will mark guilty on the verdict form as to the charge. If in considering a charge against...
Hi, Lydia. Yes, Steno with epic music, indeed.
the defendant, you find that the state has failed to sustain its burden of proving the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, you will mark not guilty on the verdict form as to the charge.
We have 3 minutes left in this exercise, bro.
Alright, let's try a little more literary practice. Excuse me. That was loud. Preparing for your first reporting job. Ready? Here we go. You
Tickled off Patrick just redeemed posture check.
Thank you for redeeming posture check. My posture has been checked.
ready? Here we go. You can live and learn, as they say, each of life's lessons on your own, or you can learn from the successes and failures of others before you, keeping the latter in mind, along with the preparedness training you have received from your educational career firmly imprinted in your mind. Equipment maintenance, preparation, supplies, professional dress, etc. The following would be some lessons learned from a working reporter to you, a student reporter, to add to your future checkoff list until you build your own routine for success. Always get a good night's sleep. This may be obvious, but it's often understated. Days can be long, but focus and stamina are key. Always eat breakfast. You never know if or when a break will be taken. Be sure you have snacks packed in your bag. When you begin
Hello, Tora. How are you doing today? Thank you for the follow.
to drag, this can make a big difference in your energy level. Always carry cash. Sometimes lunch will be ordered in, and you should never assume that someone else will pay for the reporter's meal. Dress professionally but comfortably. While you may think your beautiful heels look great with the outfit you have chosen, they could cause back pain later in the day or one day down the road. We'll stop there, finish that one later.
Tickled off Patrick just redeemed Yeehaw.
Thank you for redeeming Yeehaw. I'm moving on to the Q&A.
Welcome to Q&A practice. We'll start off with the defense attorney. Ready? Here we go. But you are generally familiar with those underlying records, is that correct? Absolutely, yes. May I have a moment, please? Okay, we're going to give this another try with Mr. Watkins. Again, just for the witness, please. So what you see on the screen now is your presentation, right? That's correct, yes. A portion of the AT&T records from April
You had to refresh the stream because your points weren't going up or down? Oh.
10th. A portion of the AT&T records from April 10th, 2013. Thank you. If I could just have my laptop this time for the witness. Is that the record from which you took that? I can make it bigger. Sorry. Yeah, it looks on the surface like it is, yes. Well, that's April 10, 2013, right? Yes. And those are the records that you put into the presentation, right? Yes. I grabbed a screenshot of a couple of lines, and could I have this? And those are records that were received by the government from AT&T for Jahar Sar, AT&T cell phone, correct? Right, I think they received a couple different, like they got a certain time period, then they wanted to extend that time period. So which set I used, between the two time periods that were obtained, because one was much longer than the other. I don't recall off the top of my head. But you reviewed records for that phone going back at least until December 2012, which is how you prepared your other presentation. Yes, correct. To December 11, 2012, correct? Like I said, for this phone, I only went back to, as I testified to earlier, I only went and did December 25th and 26th. Your Honor, I'd ask that this be marked for identification. All right. No objection to identification, not as an exhibit, though. I'm sorry, no objection as to identification, not as an exhibit, yes. In reviewing those records, you told us about Jahar's location on December 25th and 26th, correct? That's correct, yes. And he was a student at UMass Dartmouth during that time, correct? Yes. And I think you testified about that being the Christmas break, correct? Yes. And in the records that you reviewed, did you note that Mr. Jahar Sar, spent much of his time in the Dartmouth area based on his cell phone data usage? Yeah, as I remember, it definitely went down there, even the week of April 15th. Thank you. I don't have any further questions. Anything else? I do have some brief follow-up. Agent Fitz, you were asked several questions about these calls that occurred on the 15th, the date of the marathon bombing at about 14:49. Is that 2:49 for those of us who haven't been in the military? Yes. So at 2:49, is that the first call contact between the two phones, the new T-Mobile phone that was subscribed to by Jahar Sarni and the T-Mobile phone that was subscribed to by Tam Sarnev? Right, I believe it was the first, if I remember correctly, it was the first call of the day even, but yes, it was definitely the first call between them. Can we call up 1172? And this reflects those calls, yes. So as you can see, the first call of the day on the 15th is the 2:49 call you were asking about, and is that a call of 19-second duration outgoing from Jahar's phone to Tam's phone? It is. Now, Ms. Conrad asked you a number of questions about what the call duration means. The 19 seconds that appear here, what can you say that means in terms of the phone contact of the 9151 phone? That's how long that phone utilized resources on the T-Mobile network. And did you also review Tam's phone did that, in fact, show that there was a call on the same date and time for 17 seconds, right? I think it might be off by a second, but yes, it's relatively the same time, and that seizure period, or the handshake period where the phone is talking to the cell tower, can that be just a matter of less than a second, up to maybe several seconds? Right. I think several people have experienced both ends of that, where you dial the number, hit send, and your call starts connecting, or sometimes, like the defense mentioned, you'd dial your number, hit send, and it might take a little while before your phone call actually gets connected. Do you know whether this call was made before or after the marathon bombing? I believe it was. Objection, Foundation, Your Honor. Yes, sustained. How do you know when this call was made vis-a-vis the marathon bombing? Objection, sustained. It's also not. Proper redirect. So Ms. Conrad asked you about a call at 14:51.
Okay. The ad break has started. 3 minutes of ads. My spouse got me this little cat figurine. It's a cat sitting on a stool, and it's drooling, and it has a little party hat on its head, and a big old spoon. Really cute. You want to see it? I'd show you if I could. Very adorable. Okay, I'll send a pic on Stoat in a little bit. Alright, ad break has ended.
Which is the very next call. Do you remember that? Yes. And she highlighted that there was a slight discrepancy between Jahar's phone records and Tam's phone records.
Hi.
Of one.
Hi, Racing Miku. How are you doing today?
Second, I think one was at 20:51:18 and one was at 20:51:19. discrepancy? Well, once again, it's the person making the call. It's just how long each call was using resources. The person dialing the phone, you know, logically that call, when you're dialing and hitting the green button, it's going to happen.
I'm doing pretty good right now. I'm just doing stenography practice. It's for a charity today, Trans Lifeline. Is it a charity? It's an organization that does crisis hotline.
Sooner than the person receiving the call. Can we call up exhibit 1440? I believe it's page 8. Does this reflect that call? Yes. And so this reflects that if there's a school over here, that the 4634 number was in the area or was in the sector assigned to that school. Objection, Your Honor, sustained. Ms. Conrad asked you some questions about phone extraction. Can you explain to the jury why?
It's an organization that runs a crisis hotline. I said it wrong the first time. Sometimes I get tongue-tied. Well, often I get tongue-tied.
Data collected from a handset or a phone is different from the data collected from the phone company that provides the tower log records. Right. So the phone company pulls that information from the switch that, like I mentioned earlier on direct, it's pretty much the brains behind the operation. It's the one controlling all the handoffs. That's where the phone detail records occur. The phone extraction software, like I testified to, I don't know where it's grabbing the information from, how it's grabbing the information, or even from provider or from manufacturer to manufacturer, an iPhone versus an S5, even a Samsung versus an HTC. I don't know how that phone software maintains those logs, but that's what the phone extraction or the forensic tool is relying on to obtain those records that were brought up by the defense. And does a cell phone capture all of the same data that is captured by the cell phone network? No. For a perfect example, the phone extraction is not going to be able to tell you what tower and sector was being utilized versus...
So is this like a job? Yes, it can be a job. What I'm doing right now is practicing to testimony. So there's a witness, and there's a prosecuting attorney, and then there's the court with the judge, and then the defense attorney. I'm practicing to become a live captioner.
The switch knows what tower and sector was being utilized. Now on this graphic, does this show then what the call by TAM was made in the sector, this sector over here? Yes. Can we go to, this is a little wider, it goes out to this edge right here. All right, we will stop there. That will.
Okay, now we're moving on to the test, and that'll be the last thing I do.
This is a 120 Q&A practice test. Plaintiff attorney, Mr. Sawyer.
I'm actually having a really hard time today.
Capital SAWYER. Defense attorney Ms. MS period Allen. Capital ALLEN. with plaintiff attorney. Ready?
Okay, we're starting with plaintiff.
Here we go. Upon Detective Remick and Lieutenant Herman's arrival, did you note whether either of those individuals touched, entered, or otherwise disturbed the vehicle? No, they did not. Lieutenant Herman remained approximately 7 feet behind the vehicle. Detective Remick
I'm not keeping.
and I then reapproached the vehicle in attempts to positively ID it. How? Detective Remick walked up the passenger side. I believe he had a flashlight. He started viewing the VIN number. While he was viewing the VIN number, I looked in the back window once again to verify Kathy was not in the vehicle. While looking in the back window, I observed, it turns out it was a photo memory card that had Kathy's name written on it. Moments later, Detective Remick informed me the VIN number also matched. After obtaining a positive identification for the vehicle, what did you do then? I proceeded approximately 30 feet behind the vehicle and started providing security. Detective Remick and Lieutenant Herman immediately proceeded back to the staging area where we parked our squad cars to once again talk to Pam and Nicole Drake. What do you mean by staging area? The area where we were parking our vehicles, and later in the investigation where other officers started parking when they arrived. Could you show us again on the overview, which would be where I'm pointing, is where I parked near the crusher, which is, I would say, at least 100 yards away from where the vehicle in question was located. All right, Sergeant Orth, from your arrival, being the first officer that was there, would you have been in a constant position to determine whether any law enforcement officer or citizen...
Yeah, I do plan on doing this for a living. It's gonna take me a while though. This is my... I don't remember what stream this is. Like 38, I think? Is it 38? Or it might be 48. But yeah, I'm trying to become a live captioner for a living.
Entered or disturbed that vehicle? Yes, I was. I had constant visual of the vehicle. And I want you to tell the jury whether any police officer or any citizen entered or otherwise disturbed that car. No police officer or citizen approached or touched that car. How long did you remain as a primary security officer for that vehicle in that location? I would have to look in my report to see the time I ultimately left. However, I know I received my first break at about 1. Lieutenant Herman proceeded up to my location, approximately 30 feet behind the vehicle, at which time he focused on the vehicle. I went to the staging area where I took a short break. However, even at the staging area, there was still a clear view of the vehicle. So even during my short breaks, I was able to observe. No one approached. Let's go back to that just a minute. You said there was a clear view of the vehicle from the staging area. Is that where Pam and Nicole Drake were standing? Correct. When you stood in the exact location that Pam and Nicole Drake were standing, could you see the car from that location? Yes. If anybody disturbed or entered the vehicle, would you have been able to see that? Objection overruled. Yes. You said some other police officers and other law enforcement types arrived at the scene. Is that right? Yes. All right. Who else came to the scene? Who else was there? Deputy Cummings from the Manitou Sheriff's Department. Are you talking through the entire time I was there? Yeah, I'm talking really about whether other departments, other agencies had arrived. Calumet County Sheriff's Office had officers arriving. About how long after your arrival before Calumet showed up? An hour, that would be an estimated time. I suspect there's logs or better information for that. Is that fair? Correct.
Okay, and the stream has ended. Let me double check to make sure I know who I'm rating into. I can write at most 10 words a minute, so watching this is like magic. It does feel kind of magical. Where is the schedule? Schedule. Found it. Person I'm rating into is Ginger Cat. Ginger Cat is currently online. I'll be back tomorrow for my next Raid Train slot. I'm going to be playing Life After Magic, which is a sapphic visual novel. It has a non-binary character in it, so I'll be playing through that route tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody! Oh, and that's the raid message. Bye, Lydia. Bye, Patrick.